This video is about how setting unrealistically high standards and self-criticism undermine our motivation and self-esteem, how that can trigger a downward spiral of procrastination, being unmotivated and procrastinating more, and how to get out of that trap. Hey everyone, and welcome to Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership, the place that offers you insights into guiding yourself to where you want to be and living a fulfilled and experientially rich life. Today I want to talk about two things we do that unnecessarily undermine our motivation and self-esteem. Motivation rests on one very important foundation, and that is, in order to be motivated to do anything at all, we need to be convinced that we will be able to reach the goal, whatever it is. We need to be convinced that I will be able, if I give it my all, to get from A to B. Considering everything, all the circumstances, my skill level, there's a quite high chance that I will reach the goal. It's not completely unlikely. And when we make that estimation in our mind, we consider two things. We first of all consider what is the required skill level. And I'd like to break this down using this example. So assume that this measures some sort of skill level, and a person wants to reach a goal that requires this skill, and the required skill level that they need, like the absolute minimum to reach the goal, let's say it's somewhere here. The second thing we consider is, what is my skill level on this dimension? That is important. Let's say for this person in this example, the actual skill level of this person is here. So this looks pretty good, right? The person has more of this skill than what is required at minimum. This is the objective reality, and if that is what is represented in our minds, then we'd be motivated. We would think, yeah, I have what it takes to get from A to B. But the thing is that this estimation of do I have what it takes is subjective. It's not a one-to-one representation of the objective reality, which means we distort reality in our minds, and we may overestimate or underestimate either one of these. And what happens when we undermine our motivation is that we underestimate our actual skill level. This happens by being very harsh with ourselves, seeing ourselves in a very critical and negative light, speaking of ourselves internally and externally in very negative terms. I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I'm an embarrassment, I never get anything right. This often, or for most cases, the main root here is somewhere in our childhood. And this way of seeing ourselves reflects how we were seen, treated, and accepted or not accepted by our caregivers and peers when we grew up. That doesn't mean it will always have to stay that way. Luckily, this is something everyone can change no matter where they start out in life here. And the second thing that happens in the distortion of these two is that our mind can blow completely out of proportion the required skill level to achieve a certain goal. And say, oh, the required skill level is actually here. that results in us setting very demanding and unrealistic standards for ourselves. This can be in regards to a certain skill, like here, the skill that it takes from A to B. It can also be things like, I need to get everyone's approval. Everyone needs to like me and appreciate me. Or I need to be 100% certain that something's going to work out before I give it a try. Another common unrealistic standard is, I need to, if I try something new, be good at it right away. I'm not allowed to make a mistake no matter what. It can also be, I need to use every hour of my life in a most productive way, or I always need to give 100%. These are some common unrealistic, demanding standards that no one can achieve. They're impossible to achieve. And when this distortion happens like that, the obvious conclusion the person will draw is, when thinking about, can I get from A to B? No, I can't. And then the person will not be motivated. So this is how we crush our motivation. We blow the required skill level out of proportion. We think we need to be perfect. Everything needs to be done in a way that actually is superhuman. And we see ourselves in a light that is so harsh, so critical, that it completely minimizes what we are capable of. And that's why we're not motivated. Because if that were true, well, then it wouldn't make sense to be motivated. But the thing is, it's not true. It's a misrepresentation of reality that's in our mind. And there's actually studies showing that this can be a vicious cycle. Setting high standards leads to failing at them, obviously. And then that leads to more self-criticism. That leads to more procrastination. And more procrastination leads again to more self-criticism. There's actually studies that show the people who are more harsh to themselves when they procrastinate more the next time they have the chance to procrastinate. So it's a vicious cycle that doesn't have anything to do with actual reality, and that is just a movie that's playing out in our mind. And next, I'd like to talk about how we can get out of this trap to rebuild our motivation and self-esteem. How to get out of this trap. Number 1, setting realistic standards. So just as there are 2 things that drive this vicious cycle, these are exactly the 2 places we can look at and work on to get out of this trap. Bringing our standards down and raising the way we see ourselves. When we look at the standards, often we set unrealistic and demanding standards out of a very diffuse feeling that, how good does one need to be? Well, I'm not good enough because I have this picture of myself, so probably one needs to be better than I am. So, and then it's just this feeling that it needs to be better than I am. It's very diffuse, and it actually comes from this place of self-criticism and being harsh with oneself. And it helps to really get some facts. If you want to get from A to B, if there's a goal that you want to achieve, do some research into it and try to find out as much as you can about what are the actual requirements. What does one need to know, learn, have to get from A to B? Talk to people. Often also we set these diffuse high standards because we're not in contact with people who have done what we are trying to do and who have already done it. So it can really help to talk to people who have done it and ask them how they got there and ask them about the mistakes that they made on their journey. And then you'll see that they were probably also not perfect, because humans aren't perfect, and that it was possible for them to come from A to B. And that can really break down this diffuse feeling of, I just need to be better. Also know that you don't need to function on this high level in order to be happy and have a fulfilled life. Happiness and fulfillment is here. This is completely enough to be happy and fulfilled. Actually, striving for this is what stands against being fulfilled and happy. But if you can know that being here is fine, the gates to happiness will open for you. Oh, and by the way, questioning our demanding standards doesn't mean we should not set high standards. High standards are good, but they should be just like one step out of our comfort zone so that they tickle our motivation instead of crushing it. Number 2, kindness towards yourself. The second thing you can work on to get out of this trap is to stop with the super harsh self-criticism and be kind and compassionate with yourself. Everyone deserves compassion, so do you. And if you get better at not being this self-critical, it's very likely that you'll also not feel this drive to be perfect, because a big part of why we want to be perfect is that we want to stop criticizing ourselves. We'd like to just one day not feel like we need to put ourselves down and look at all of our shortcomings. And we think the way out of that is to be perfect. If I were just perfect, I could relax. I wouldn't need to criticize myself so much. The thing is, that's not how it works, because we can't be perfect. So this drive to be perfect can also be broken up by not being that self-critical, because that's what's behind it often. So if you've procrastinated, if you've failed, instead of saying to yourself, my parents were right, I'm not cut out for this, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough for this, I am showing myself and the world again that I won't make it. Instead of saying that, which is here, say to yourself, I am cut out for this. The feeling that I'm not is a shadow from my past. It's not based on facts or reality. And I embrace myself. I embrace my humanness. I embrace that I will make mistakes. I embrace that I sometimes need to rest and chill. And I will be forgiving when I make mistakes, because I know that that is the best way to support myself. All I need to do is keep my effort up, and I know I will get from A to B. And in order to be able to keep my effort up, I need to be kind with myself. And if I can't get out of being harsh and self-critical myself, I can always seek help. So these are 2 super important places we can look at if we want to be more motivated and have a better self-esteem. If we want to feel like I've got this, I have what it takes to get from A to B to reach my goal. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, I upload every week. And if you don't want to miss anything, be sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Till next time, take care. And remember, you don't have to be perfect to reach your goal. And the best way to support yourself is by being gentle and kind.